Alrighty, how's it going? This is Kai here with Track Record, and this comprehensive review is of Mark driving the Lingenfelter Z28 in anger at Apex Motor Club. So we're going to dissect this lap, Mark. We're going to find you that big lap time that you're looking for. These cars can typically get into the 140s range, mid 140s to high 140s. I've watched this video quite a bit, and I believe we found 3 or 4, maybe 5 critical key elements that you can work on that'll give you that lap time that you're looking for. But for your first time here, I think you did wonderful. To get under 2 minutes here is great. 1:55 is solid. So what we typically do here is we watch the whole video one time, and then we're going to go through again and watch it again. But what we do, you can see this little blue circle here, we're going to stop at each corner and look at your line, where you're braking. We're going to look at what gear selection you're in. What I love about the data that you and Daryl have here is that we can look at the braking application, how hard you're coming on, where the throttle is, where the RPM is, mile an hour. So it's really fun to use the data set that you have on top of the video here for your lap at Apex. So let's go for a ride here, Mark. Around the track we go. So this is leading through turn 12 here, across start finish for a lap at Apex. Always a nice heart, elevated high intensity heart rate through here. Down through turn 1, down into turn 2. Again, whatever track you go to, guys, this car just sounds so good. I love this car. So down the long straight into the chicane. And if you guys know me well enough, I love chicanes. I'm a huge fan of Watkins Glen and Daytona for many reasons, but this is one of the key reasons here. To attack a bus stop chicane like this is so much fun with the use of curbing and the back and forth. Kind of a switchback through there. Always a good time. So this takes us all the way down into turn 4. Through turn 5 here, guys, and then all the way down into turn 6. So this is the second of 2 long straightaways here at Apex Motor Club. Again, one of my favorite turns, turn 6 here. Nice, long, flowing left-hand turn down into turn 7, which is one of the corners that is very, very technical. It gives a lot of drivers anxiety, if you will, because there's so many different lines, there's so many ways to attack it. And for that, we love that corner. Through another tight and technical section here, guys, down into turn 11. And now we make the run up into turn 12. A lot of lap time to be had in this area too, because there's a reasonably short little straight, but that straight can be vastly effective if you get a good run, big mile an hour through here into turn 12. Nice smooth downshift too, by the way. So what we're going to do here is we're going to rewind all the way back to the beginning of your lap, which I believe was right here. So Mark, you did a great job there, and having spent time with you at other racetracks, always been really impressed with your car control, your ability to soak up new information, and for that, just definitely wanted to acknowledge how good you've become behind the wheel of a car. And again, to get under 2 minutes here is a big thing. So we're going to find some more time for you, and we're going to start with the lead up into turn 1. So we're going to kind of rewind here in thought, and I'm going to discuss this when we get all the way around to the end of this lap. But you can see right here you're in 4th gear. What I would work on next time is getting up into 5th gear through the whole turn 12 complex. What that does is it puts you in more manageable of a gear. It helps the car sit better, I believe. It's going to be more planted. As you can see right here, even if I rewind just a little bit here, Mark, check it out. You can see just half throttle here. There's a little bit of modulation back and forth. So you come out of 11, 3rd, 4th, even a short shift, if you will, up into 5th, and just try to roll as much momentum through here as you can in 5th gear. It's going to increase your mile an hour, and it's going to make the car, I believe, feel a lot more manageable as you come down into turn 1 here. So it'll be in 5th gear the whole way through. And then you'll start dragging the brake right around here. And that's where you're going to go from 5th now into 4th, as opposed to what you're doing here, going 4th to 3rd. So this is going to help a ton. And where you're braking, if you look right here where the brakes are coming on, I think is good. A lot of people overslow this corner. It's a very fast corner. It's tricky because it falls downhill. We know there's a little bit of a bump there, and your apex is way around the corner. So where you turn in is also as important it is as to where you're braking. But I think where you're braking here is really good. The mile an hour is pretty solid right here. We're at exactly 100. Let me see right there. 91 right here as you kind of bleed off. There have been times where I'm pretty close to 105, somewhere between 105 and 110 in certain cars. So in cars that are in class with what you guys have here. So there is a little bit more room on the table. I think that 5th gear is going to help through here. So that's one note to kind of take right away. So just rewind it again. 5th gear. Dragging the brake right about here. You're going to slowly roll down into 4th gear and just carry as much momentum as you can and just roll it in. You can see right now you're hard on the brake. Right about here you should be coming off the brake. So the first initial braking application is boom, a big hard hit with a roll off right here. And you just got to think about rolling momentum. Just carry as much momentum all the way down to that apex, kind of where you're just on the edge, and you're not going to be picking up the throttle until you get down to the apex. So let's look at your line. You see where the brake's coming off there? You'd want the brake to come off just a teeny little bit sooner there. Will help. The line is looking good where your hands are. I've been watching your hands at 9 and 3, looking solid here. There's your apex at that cone right there on the inside, and I'm watching your throttle right about here. You don't want to start lighting this car up and going to full throttle a little bit sooner if you can, but remember you're going to be in 4th gear. But the whole thing is about opening up that radius and carrying as much momentum as you can through there. There's a lot of time to be had in turn 1, so just thinking about that one. Where you're braking, 4th gear, roll in 4th gear, just think of the word rolling momentum, keeping that momentum up to a high degree. And now we're rolling down into turn 2 here. So for turn 2, you'd now be braking with a downshift into 3rd gear. So the gear selection that you have in the car right now is good. This is a 3rd gear corner, as would turn 3 be. So this looks really good. Just watching the brake pedal here, trailing it off. That's really good. The last video I'd made for Therrell, we had discussed, and it's important here to also acknowledge again, when you have American muscle like this with a big heavy front engine, V8 in it, these cars really like it when you trail brake, like you did here, to where you want to maximize and hold that energy on the nose of the car to keep that tire contact patch as wide as you possibly can by hard braking and rolling off the brake as you come on down to your apex. So I would say this right here is textbook. So that's really good. So now you're coming out of turn 2. Stay in 3rd gear. Beautiful. If you watch this again, rewind it yourself and watch your brake. That was spot on. Nicely done through here. So 3rd, up to 4th. So, if you could work up to a little more momentum through turn 3, there's a chance that you might find that you would be looking for 5th gear here. So the next time you go back, that would be on the list of homework I would give you, is to see if we can bring the momentum up, or the corner exit speed in turn 3 a little more, to where you find that you're on the rev limiter in 4th, that you might need 5th for just a little bit. But as far as braking here, I wanted to address the braking here. I know you're braking at the number 4. I think in this car, and again, the more time you have here, the easier this will be for you. You can get with this car closer to the number 3. I'd start at the 3.5 and then see what that feels like. But the main thing that I wanted to address is the application of the brake. So watch the brake pedal. There's a little bit of porpoising going on here, so just watch. See how it comes on gradual, really hard, and then comes back off and then back on. So the car is gradually porpoising. That tire contact patch grows, gets a bit smaller. A lot of things are happening to the car dynamically. What you'd really want to be doing is when we find that brake marker that you need, let's say it's the 3.5, get all the way down in there, one hard brake to where that whole thing spikes full red, and then you start bleeding the speed out the car, and then that red will slide over as you trail brake your way all the way down towards the apex of the turn in for this bus stop chicane here. So we just want to eliminate this porpoising effect. As you can see right here, where the brake's coming off is pretty good. And let's watch where your throttle's coming on. You can see there's a little bit of a hesitation to really get on the throttle here. The real way to attack this, to get even more efficiency out of your car and to get this lap time you're looking for, is to get a bit more aggressive here. So you're braking, let's say at the 3.5, hard brake. You're trailing off to where this little red slider's coming over. It should be all the way up, somewhere right around here. And you're just carrying momentum, big momentum, but right about here, you'd want to start picking up the throttle again, a little more than you are. And then the other thing, and this might be the biggest piece of advice in the bus stop here, there is a cone off to the right about here. I've used it before. Because it's there, a lot of people try to go towards it, they gravitate towards it. If you could focus on exiting this first part of the chicane and putting that Camaro right here in the middle, it's going to help a bit more, because right now, as you turn from this cone, you're kind of looking, it feels like you're looking, when you're in the car, way over here, when in reality, if you went down the center, you'd be over here. And if you're really looking to dive into some more homework, watch some stock cars or any race at Watkins Glen or Daytona and look at how they tackle those bus stop chicanes. You'll see most vehicles exit only in the center, and then they get ready for the second half of the chicane. So you can see over here, I think you're a little bit too far to the right, when in reality, if you're right down the center, it will help more. And when you do it the first time, you'll be like, oh, that's what Kai was talking about. I get it. A couple other things. And I don't know if Therrell's going to be cool with this, but there is more lap time in using more curbing. You know, you don't want to just attack and hammer curbs over and over, especially with a wonderful piece of equipment like this, because it can be pretty hard on the rims. But on the way in, a little more use of curbing. On the way out, a little more use of curbing. All that does is take this section like this and it stretches it out. It's opening radiuses. You'll just go quicker through here. Being in third gear is good. And right to when you get about here, I'd want to encourage you to get, again, more aggressive with the car, so where you're on the throttle harder. You want to be on the gas right here. I really only hear it come on a little later. Listen for it. Right there. At your exit, you want that V8, that Lingenfelter, to be screaming down at the curbing. And in doing so, you'll end up in fourth gear here, because as you run down into turn 4, you're pretty close to the rev limiter in third, and I can see you're right there, so you start leaning out of the throttle a little bit right there, way before the brake. This tells me there's more time on the table. So more aggression coming out of the bus stop to where you'd want to be in fourth, and then back down into third for turn 4. And then the other thing in the bus stop, I know when you guys run this car, you leave some form of stability control on. You have it in a sport mode. Feel free to lean on that. There's no harm in hearing the rev chip coming on here or hearing the traction control working. All it means is that you're really, really wheeling this car. So if I heard a bit more of that going on, that would mean you're being more aggressive. So lean on that, trust in that technology. And okay, so here we are down into turn 4. See the brake application that time? That's perfect. Take that brake application and then look at the braking going into the bus stop, you'll see there's a different technique going on here. What you did here in turn 4 is good. Where you're turning in is good. Third gear is good. Remember, if you get a good run out of the bus stop, you go up to fourth, then back down to third. And this sets us up for the run down the next long straightaway through turn 5 and into turn 6. That little lift right there, I think, is an argument that your foot is having with your brain. You can do that flat out. Just stay in it, wide open. You'll be fine through there. When you do it, you'll love it. So just flat out through here. And in doing that, you might find that now you're up into 5th gear here. So be prepared for that the next time you go back. So you go from 4th down to 3rd. Where your braking here is good, let's look at your braking technique. Looking good through there. There's braking boards way out on the Armco barrier on the right side, and what the folks of Apex have done is they've now put these blue boards out there that are closer to the side of the track. They've also put cones, 3, 2, 1. I'd be exploring with where you're braking somewhere between the 3 and 2. I mean, you're coming at that turn 6 section way over 100 mile an hour. So start at the 3. I think everything here looked pretty good. Having driven your car at other tracks but not here, I'm really curious as to whether this would be a 4th or 3rd gear turn. Looking at your RPM and everything going on here, it looks like 3rd. So if you get a good run, you might be coming down 2 gears here. That's something we'll explore the next time we head out to this track together. So here you've managed to catch some traffic. This is a nice late apex turn. Where you're turning is good. We know we're looking at exiting way out here. This is something that is going to help you a ton. We're going to find some lap time for you here, Mark. You're a little way too far out to the right here. It's even into this gray area over here. The real key here, and again, I might do it different. Andy might do it different. Some other drivers might do it different. This is one of these corners that is up for interpretation. There's a lot of time to be had here for you though, but what I can tell you is you're a little too far over to the right. What you want to do is be coming in from the left of center. You want to be further over here, kind of to where you're making a straight line towards these mountain tips over here. There have since, so the next time you go back, you'll notice these big old black skid marks right here. That's where a lot of drivers that run Formula 4 and Formula 3 have locked up the inside left and just made these perfect black lines all the way down there. The line they use is the line that I like to take. So just line your left sides up right down those black marks and it's going to help a ton. So just a little too wide right here. So bring it in tighter. And in doing that, you're going to run out, essentially make a little bit of a diamond tip out of it. I think you're a little too close to the apex here. You'd want to be a little bit over. I'd say too close to the inside of the curbing. Get a little over further to the right so that you can be in a better position to attack the next part of the track. And then your apex is really way over here, coming through turn 7. So you eventually get to it. But in opening that radius, you'll get to it quicker. You just want to roll more speed into there. And I'm obviously taking into account that there's some traffic right here that's completely backed you up. Had that car not been there, your time definitely would have been under 155. So there's a lot of speed in you, young driver. Okay, obviously some traffic here. In this area, I'd want to see what second gear does for you. Just drop it down into second gear for a moment here. Maybe even second gear at the very end of the tightest part of turn 7. That's worth exploring. Okay, so Mark, while we know you're in traffic here, and looking at your RPM and everything that's kind of happening at this part of the track in this car, I think it might be worth exploring with a drop down into second here, or possibly going down into second at the very last part of turn 7. Try that. There's no harm in trying that. This traffic is holding you up. Your 155 is a solid lap. It would have been quicker if that car wouldn't have been there. So another little interesting tidbit, Let's say now this is a race and this type of traffic is ahead of you, or there's multi-class racing. This car is not going as quick as you, doesn't have the power, the handling ability, the braking and all of that. If this was a race and you're being held up like this, look at your RPM and everything that's going on here. Going down into second gear would help. Just listen to that car, it's laboring a little bit. Second gear, hard up into third gear. You'd want to charge third gear, third gear, third gear with a little bit of a lift. Friendly use of curbing in all of these areas I think is fine. You're going slow enough, it doesn't change the attitude of the car dramatically when you hammer these curbs. All it does is open radiuses up. So give that a shot. Third gear. One thing here, I think if you see this little area right down the center there is good. Resist that urge to turn in early here because you know your apex is way over to the right and you want to get a good drive, a good run out of here so that you can build momentum because there's a sizable straight that leads you onto a really, really fast turn in turn 12. So again, explore with third or second here. You can tell you're in 2000 RPM in third gear, so I'm thinking second gear will do a lot for you here. You'd be a hard run up to third, up to fourth. Okay, so we know there's that cone on the left, that's where you turn in, and then you apex down here, and then we're keeping our eyes all the way up. And we're just kind of trying to catch this out of our peripheral vision. There's that first part of turn 12. Just a little bit of friendly advice. This curbing right there, they haven't painted it for a reason. They don't want any cars down there. You're trying to make one big flowing arc out of a very fast and dramatic and fun corner. So that curb right there is irrelevant. It's the first one that matters. These cones out here help you connect the dots. There's the next one. But you're trying to settle down into fifth gear now, one solid wheel input the whole way through here, and just try to keep mile an hour up, mile an hour up. I think being in fifth is going to help keep the car more planted. Again, watch the throttle here. It's kind of moving around a bit. Your apex right here is solid. We know what we need to do. We're braking right about there. We know what we need to do with our downshift into fourth and a little bit more rolling momentum down to the apex. And all of that's going to help. It's going to add up to some significant changes for you. All in all, I think you're doing wonderful. I hope this review is meaningful and will help you a ton. I look forward to going back to the track with you. Thanks again for reaching out and for allowing Track Record to take a look at your laps. Thanks guys, see you.